Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles, and I'm very happy to be able to say for the first time that today's video is sponsored by Audible. And I'm very happy with this sponsorship for a number of reasons. First and foremost, books are great, and when it's not convenient to read a book, it's almost always convenient to have an audiobook read to you. And the second reason is because it once again gives me the opportunity to plug the work of the great James Hornfischer. Because if you're in the mood for a good audiobook or three to listen to while you're exercising, cooking, or playing World of Warships, you could do a damn sight worse than The Fleet at Flood Tide, Neptune's Inferno, or The Last Stand of the Tin Can Sailors, all written by James Hornfischer and all available on Audible. You can start listening with a 30-day Audible free trial, get one audiobook and unlimited Audible original monthly downloads, 100% free of charge. Just visit www.audible.com/jingles or text jingles to 500 500. Well, that's great, Jingles, but what exactly does James Hornfischer have to do with World of Warships? That's an excellent question. I'm so glad you asked. Pay close attention to the name of the captain of the USS Boise here. His name is Neptune's Inferno, which is the title of James Hornfischer's book on the naval battle of Guadalcanal, which by an astonishing coincidence is not only an excellent read, one which I have recommended to you guys before, but guess what, is also available on Audible. He also belongs to a clan that goes by the name of Task Force 62, which was the very unfortunate task force assigned to the opening invasion and reinforcement of the Guadalcanal campaign, and during the night battle off Savo Island, got its ass handed to it in spectacular fashion by the Japanese, leading to the sinking of the USS Quincy, the USS Astoria, and HMAS Canberra, all of which is detailed in James's excellent book, Neptune's Inferno, although, on account of how we're such close personal friends, I like to call him Jim. But why am I pointing this out to you? Well, that's because Neptune's Inferno here, captaining the USS Boise for us, named after the state capital of Idaho, this is James Hornfischer. He plays World of Warships. And this is him. Well, that's all well and good, Jingles, but is he any good at playing World of Warships? Well, we could just let the captain of the Mayhan over there be the judge. Okay, he didn't get a kill, but he certainly contributed. I mean, it's fair to say that he's definitely not as good at World of Warships as he is at writing books on naval history. But that doesn't mean he's bad, it just means that he's extremely good on the subject of the US Navy at war in the Pacific in World War II. This is not the first time I've recommended Jim's work, and it won't be the last either. I've recommended his work on multiple occasions in the past, and I don't know a single person who's taken me up on that recommendation and regretted it. So I absolutely jumped at this chance to expose even more of you to Jim's fantastic work by taking advantage of this Audible sponsorship to get any one of his books for free when you start your Audible audiobook membership. Oh, nice shooting, Jim. One Russian war canoe taken care of. I should probably talk a little about the ship he's actually sailing here, the USS Boise, before I get completely carried away plugging his audiobooks. So the USS Boise, pennant number CL-47, was a light cruiser of the Brooklyn class, saw extensive service throughout World War II, including the Battle of Cape Esperance, where she was hit at least twice by Japanese heavy cruisers at a range of 7,500 yards or less, one of which went into one of her 6-inch gun magazines and caused a powder fire which forced the magazine to be flooded in order to save the ship. So, good news, the trademark prompt and efficient US Navy damage control saved the ship from a magazine detonation, but bad news, flooding the magazine cut off the ammunition supply and therefore put out of action 3 of the ship's gun turrets. The ship's captain, Mike Moran, was awarded the Navy Cross for his leadership during the course of the battle, and upon returning to the Philadelphia Navy Yard for repairs and an inspection, it was determined that one of the shells that had actually struck the ship was of English manufacture. Sorry about that, America. I mean, it's not surprising on the one hand, because prior to World War II we did kind of supply the Japanese Navy with a lot of their ships' equipment, ammunition and guns. It's just kind of surprising that, ooh, another kill. Sorry, nearly missed it. Well done, Jim. It's just kind of surprising that by October 1942 they still had some of our ammunition left. After World War II, the ship was sold to Argentina, where she was renamed 9 de Julio, or the 9th of July, Argentina's Independence Day. She was finally sold for scrap at Brownsville in Texas in 1983. So there were a couple of special things about this Tier 7 cruiser in World of Warships. There are two versions of it, one for the US Navy and one for the Argentine Navy, and they're also the only Tier 7 cruisers in the game that come with a repair party. Tier 7 cruisers with a heel. Or at least they're the only Tier 7 cruisers with a heel at the time of me recording this video, but, well, you know what wargaming are like. Take your eye off the game for a minute and they'll slip another premium in there without anybody noticing it. I do like this ship though, in both of its versions. I mean, for a light cruiser, it's got massive broadside firepower, 15 6-inch guns. She is very similar to her non-premium tech tree counterpart, the USS Helena. Although there are some differences. The Boise's turrets traverse faster, she gets a heel, and it's a British light cruiser heel as well. Or more specifically, it's a British Tier 8 or higher light cruiser heel, the kind of heel that gives you back 2% of your health per second, not the 0.5 or 0.6% per second that is more common on other cruisers. The price that you pay for that, as well as having faster turret traverse than the USS Helena, is around about a kilometre less 6-inch gun battery range and a slightly slower reload. But that's a price I am entirely happy to pay in order to get an extremely effective heel on a Tier 7 light cruiser. Of course, she does suffer from other problems that are endemic to light cruisers in general, and not the Boise in particular. Being on with 6-inch guns means that she really does kind of need the IFHE skill in order to be effective against not only battleships but other higher tier cruisers that she's likely to face. And while this does cut the base fire chance down by 50%, these guns have a base fire chance of 12% in the first place. So only having a 6% chance that any one of these 15 shells that she fires with each double click of the trigger is going to set a fire is still pretty good odds. So yeah, I like the Boise because it's a good ship. And Jim, don't worry, I can call him Jim on account of how we're such close personal friends. I've exchanged emails with him like 3 times. But Jim seems to be doing okay in it too. It's funny though, because every time he sent me a replay, and he hasn't sent me many, but every time he has, it's always been in a ship that actually existed, and an American ship as well. So the USS Boise, I've seen a couple of replays in his USS Iowa. It's as if the historian in him just rebels against against playing paper ships. And that's not a bad thing. Oh, those torpedoes are a bad thing though. Certainly a bad thing for that Colorado. So that was kind of unfortunate. The team were fairly substantially ahead. I mean, they still have a points lead and they're flipping the central cap and still in possession of 1, but they could have done without losing their Miyoko and their Colorado at exactly the same time. Now, Jim was spotted by the Shiratsuyu, I presume, that launched the torpedoes that sank the Colorado, but now he isn't, so that gives us some idea of where the Shiratsuyu has gone. He's almost certainly sneaked off into cover behind those islands over there, waiting for his torpedoes to reload. The Shiratsuyu has 2 types of torpedoes available, the Type 8 Mod 2s and the Type 90 Mod 1s. Oh, will you look at that. It's a Gneisenau doing Gneisenau things, launching torpedoes at absolutely nothing. Just for the sheer joy of being in a battleship and having torpedoes in the first place. Well, he's not launching them at nothing. I mean, technically he is, but he's clearly expecting the Shiratsuyu to be, well, they only have a 6-kilometre range. That was a bit of a Hail Mary if ever I saw one, but you never know. Stranger things happen at sea. Oh, hang on a second. Jim's just been spotted. Okay, that makes a lot more sense now. I mean, the Gneisenau was clearly spotted as he was traversing the gap between the 2 islands here, and he thought, well, what the hell? He clearly knew that the Shiratsuyu was in that general direction, and Jim just confirmed it, so in the absence of anything else to launch the torpedoes at, he sent them in that direction. Which is fair enough, because they'll probably be reloaded before he has the opportunity to fire them at anything else. Oh, hang on a second. Oh, okay, they won't be reloaded before he has the opportunity to fire them at anything else, because the Shiratsuyu has just torpedoed him. So that was a bit of a blow to morale. I mean, that was practically a full health Gneisenau. I mean, the team is still ahead. They still have 2 caps. They still have the points lead, but they've just lost 3 ships in the space of 2 minutes. And with the sole exception of Jim himself, who still has all of his health, the surviving ships on his team Very definitely do not. So that's not good. Where did the Shiratsuyu launch those torpedoes from? I thought it might have been through this gap right here, but oh, that's not very good either. They've just lost the Congo. They still have the points, although not as much. There's a 2-point difference, although they are still gaining points at a faster rate because they have 2 cap circles. But it's now 3 against 4. 2 of the 3 are extremely low on health. At least one of them is spotted and getting shot at. And the enemy team are pushing into that central cap. The good news is that Jim has found himself a Shiratsuyu to shoot at, and with a 15 a 15 6-inch gun broadside salvo, this thing is absolutely brutal when it comes to shooting at destroyers. Jim also taking advantage of the fact that the Synops guns are pointing in the other direction, and judging by the more than 4,000 damage that first salvo inflicted, I think it's likely that Jim's captain has the IFHE skill. But that is an extremely dangerous Tier 7 Russian battleship. You just saw his armour belt shatter. Oh shit, this is bad. It looks like you're going to live, at least for the moment, Jim. But you just saw the Trento, which is an Italian heavy cruiser, basically shattering 8-inch armour-piercing salvos against the Synops belt. But then again, Italian armour-piercing is pretty terrible. The Trento would have been better off using semi-armour-piercing, which he's not doing. And now, of course, Jim's also being shot at by the Furutaka, which is also a heavy cruiser. And did I mention, the Boise's armour isn't very good. Oh, here it comes again. And that could have been substantially worse. And now the Furutaka. Jim, you don't need me to tell you this, but you really need to get the hell out of here. The Mutsuki's got some torpedoes on the way. It would be real nice. No. Another fire set. Okay. I think that's it, Jim. I think you've killed the Synop. It's going to burn down. I mean, it has... Yes, you've got it. Ouch. Still getting shot at by the Furutaka, of course. And I wouldn't expect any help from the Mutsuki. Certainly not in the form of gunfire, not with the amount of health that he has left. Come on, Jim. Double fire. Now would be a good time to use your damage control. Nobody will think any the less of you for it. There it is. If he gets set on fire again here, he might be okay. As long as he kills the Furutaka. Because his heal is going to recover a lot of health. It's another good hit on the Furutaka, and there's the Confederate award. Unfortunately, the Trento is still firing armour-piercing, and Italian armour-piercing is terrible. He really should be firing the semi-armour-piercing. Because it's not really... I mean, it didn't do anything other than shatter on the belt of the Synop, and it's not doing an awful lot to the Furutaka either. Come on, Jim. You can do this. Smokescreen, I suspect not because the Mutsuki is trying to help you, but because he got so close that he got spotted. But for whatever the reason, it's an extremely well-timed smokescreen. Jim's gone undetected, and he's managed to get the heal away, which means the Furutaka is kind of screwed. Come on, Jim. Do it for the Kraken Unleashed. There it is. Nicely done, Jim. Unfortunately, the Mutsuki's done for, shot down by the enemy Zara. But whether he did it deliberately or not, that smokescreen definitely helped. I wouldn't go so far as to say that it saved Jim's arse, because I'm pretty sure, since he had his heal off cooldown in time, he would probably have been okay. But either way, the smokescreen definitely helped. And now, there's just one enemy ship left, and that's the Zara, and he was spotted sniping at the Mutsuki from the north. Jim did lose a lot of health there. I mean, he had 33,000. Oh, I think we know where the Zara is. Somebody's flipping the cap. But yes, Jim had 33,000. I think he probably lost 40,000, but thanks to the Boise's heal, he's back up to 16,000. Now the question is the enemy Zara going to be firing armour-piercing, or the vastly more effective semi-armour-piercing? Unlike the friendly Trento, who really seems to like his armour-piercing, even though it isn't doing an awful lot, that's not something you can count on the enemy Zara doing. There goes the armour-piercing again. Well, I suppose if you throw enough at the wall, eventually some of it's going to stick. Oh, Jim's spotted. But, well, so's the Zara. Jim's angled in, which isn't really going to help too much against semi-armour piercing. Luckily for Jim, well, there are two things here that are very lucky for Jim. First, the Zara isn't smart enough to be firing semi-armour piercing, and he's also not smart enough to understand how a full-speed smokescreen works. This is one of those rare occasions where Jim should probably have been firing the armour piercing, but, well, he missed that window. The Zara is still firing AP, and it's doing some damage. In fact, it's knocked his engine out. But there's an excellent chance that if he'd been firing the SAP instead of just trying to do damage with the AP, which he's still doing, not to very great effect, Jim would probably have been dead. And eventually, because if you throw enough of it at the wall, some of it is finally going to stick. The friendly Trento actually manages to do some damage, although it's not a lot, with his own armour-piercing ammunition. So congratulations on the Kraken, Jim. Well done. Now stop playing silly games and get your next book published, please. I'm running out of stuff that you've written. Although I am giving Neptune's Inferno another go, this time in audible format. It's just handy to be playing on the phone for me to listen to while I'm doing the cooking. And of course, you can too. In fact, it doesn't have to be Neptune's Inferno, although it's a fantastic place to start. You can also check out Jim's other audiobooks, The Fleet at Flood Tide, or The Last Stand of the Tin Can Sailors, which details the incredible story of what happened when a tiny US Navy task force consisting of nothing other than a handful of escort carriers and a bunch of destroyers and destroyer escorts were thrust into battle against the Japanese task force that included, amongst many other things, the mighty battleship Yamato. And you can start listening with a 30-day Audible trial. You get one audiobook, and I highly recommend any one of these, and unlimited Audible original monthly downloads, absolutely free. Visit audible.com/jingles or just text jingles to 500 500. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you to Audible for this sponsorship. I sincerely hope you all find something worth listening to, and if you go with any of these recommendations, I 100% guarantee that you will. You see, the thing about Jim Hornfischer, he's one of that rare breed of historian who not only knows his stuff and has a passion for it, but he also knows how to write a good story. And that's a lot less common a combination than you might think. Which is why I have no hesitation in confidently stating that if you have even the slightest passing interest in World War II Pacific naval history, you're going to enjoy listening to these audiobooks. And of course, take advantage of this offer and get the first one for free. Anyway, that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I know you're going to find something worth listening to. And as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.